The Doctor and crew are stranded. No more. Hello and welcome back to Madmen with a Box. I'm one of the Madmen, Ozchris, here to talk about Stranded 4, the finale to Stranded, part of the 8th Doctor Adventures. This was written by Matt Fitton, Lisa McMullen, Roy Gill, and John Dorney. So, Stranded. It all comes to an end here in these 4 stories. So I'm not going to try and go into a lot of spoilers. It's just going to be, I'll just give my overall thoughts with the episode. So starting off with Cross Lines, we meet the Curator again. The Curator has appeared in, I believe, the first 2 Strandeds, if I recall correctly, 1 and 2. But this is not the one you were expecting. Yeah, this Curator is now portrayed by Colin Baker. This is the year of the 6th Doctor. It continues. It's his year, and I'm all for it. I will say I both like and dislike that they don't really explain it. I like the fact that okay, it just happens. Don't question it. It just happens. But then there's another part of me that's like, I need to know. Like, you can't just say that he's now different and you don't give an explanation. Tell me now. But I really enjoyed that. The story itself, I think it was fine. It's beginning the reaching to the conclusion of the overall story arc to do with Robin and with divine intervention. We get a revelation about a character that was in the first Stranded, Mr. Bird. I really actually did not see it coming, so I think that was done really, really well. The story itself, for Cross Lines, I think was fine. If I had to rate it like by itself, probably a 6.5 out of 5. Then moving on to Get Andy. Now, the whole premise of this episode is them trying to save Andy, who died at the end of Stranded 3 in the 4th story. I'm going to be honest, it flew over my head that Andy died. Like, I think when they mentioned it in Cross Lines, then in this, I'm like, oh, he died? When did that happen? Like, and I like, listening to Stranded 4, I just finished Stranded 3 prior to starting this, so like it was fresh in my mind all of what kind of like happened in Stranded 3, and I just totally missed that Andy died. I think the fact that the last story in there, it's done out of order. It starts from the end and goes. It starts with the end and then finishes with the beginning. It's not told chronologically. It's probably what messed me up. So probably that's why I just flew over my head that like Andy was killed. This was a fun episode as well. Another probably like 6.5 out of 10 episode. I know, I liked it. I liked the... there really isn't much to talk about that one. I just liked it. I don't know. It's all I can really say about it. It's just, I liked it. We come to our penultimate story, The Keys of Baker Street. Again, this one was fine. It nicely wraps up the whole Robin and divine intervention arc. Nice little bow, fixes everything up. That's all I can really say. And again, another 6.5 out of 10 if I had to rate it individually. And then we come to Best Year Ever. Now, this is the one I want to talk about the most, because when I heard about it, I was kind of worried. Because it would be dealing with a real world stuff. It's throwing the TARDIS crew into COVID-19, particularly the COVID-19 lockdowns. When I heard about this, I was like, really? Doing something like this? Like, I don't particularly like when real world stuff is just thrown into different media, because I don't know, the writers are like, oh, I want my thoughts about this. This needs to be a reflection of our times. Like, I kind of find it annoying. Like, I want this out of my entertainment. Like, I come to this stuff to be rid of the real world stuff. Like, I already know that the real world, it's not good. There's a lot of terrible stuff going on. I also see it in the news. I don't need to see it in my entertainment as well. I'm here to escapism. Remember that thing, escapism? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be entertained and escape the real world enthrall myself in this wonderful, sometimes disastrous world that is Doctor Who. Like, so having found out about it was going to be it's going to be set in the lockdowns, I was a bit worried. Luckily, it's not even really a kind of focal point. Like, they're in the lockdowns. They don't say that it's COVID-19. They just mention that they're in a lockdown, that something's going on. They're in a lockdown. They mention like some big stuff that happened in lockdowns, like, the toilet paper shortages, which are really kind of dumb. As someone who works in retail and had to suffer through lockdowns, like, the toilet paper shortages just baffled my mind. Like, okay, just watch what you eat. You won't need to use that much toilet paper. You don't need like 50,000 rolls of toilet paper unless you are eating like terribly and you are in your bathroom 24/7, which I would say watch what you eat and go see a doctor. Like, really, that's a problem. But no, it really didn't really kind of like touch on like, oh, this is the worst, like we're all suffering because of like the lockdowns. No, because this was more about the doctor, his companions, everyone in Baker Street, like hanging on together, making the best of the bad situation that they're in, and just being there for one another. And I really liked that. And it was kind of not only the fact that this is the final story of Stranded, it's also a culmination of like what they went through, especially with the start, with like the Doctor having to climatize with he probably doesn't have the TARDIS anymore. He's stuck where he is. Like, his companions, they're fine. They've dealt with something like this before. But the Doctor himself, it's happened a few times, but in the end, like, he's always had something to like take his mind off things. But here, no. But this one, it's like, it felt like a real culmination of everything that all of these characters went through, because they are essentially stranded again. Like, this is just an epilogue story. Like, it's not particularly necessary, except wrapping up one like thread between two of the characters, which I'll talk about. But it all intents purposes, like, you could just stop at Keys of Baker Street. Like, that's it. Like, the story of Stranded is actually just done. Like, the whole like paradoxes, the alternate timelines, and all of that stuff has been resolved. But this episode really kind of stood out to me. It's the one I enjoyed the most. Shockingly, I was genuinely surprised that I enjoyed this episode. But like, yeah, it is a culmination of everything they've gone through, and they're just there for each other through the year of like going through lockdowns and everything. And like, there's not really a single moment where anyone's like, oh, this is like the worst, I'm like really suffering terribly before going through this, which, realistically, not everyone had the best times during lockdowns, but luckily, John Dorney didn't want everything to be Debbie Downer for this. They wanted to show that these people went through so much together, they are making the best of it, and they are there for each other. They are the best of friends. They are going to get through this. They're going to survive, and just going to adapt and just treat it like, okay, this is just how it is. We're just going to have to accept it. So I think this was done really well, and that's, I know, probably why it just stood out to me. But yeah, like, best year ever. If I like rated it by itself, probably like a solid 8 out of 10. This was the standout episode of Stranded. Probably not only just Stranded 4, but probably all of Stranded. This was probably the one that really, really stood out to me. I just enjoyed it so much. So before giving a final rating to Stranded 4, like, talking about Stranded as a whole, it suffered the same mistakes, same kind of problems I had with Dark Eyes and Ravenous, is that it did not need to be 4 box sets. It did not need to be 16 episodes. Dark Eyes should have only just been the 3 box sets, the first 3. The 4th one felt really unnecessary, except for like the last story, but even then, like, I don't feel like it wasn't particularly that necessary. You could have just thrown it into another as a plot point to one of the other episodes. But Same with Ravenous. Like the first box set, the first 4 stories of Ravenous, like have nothing to do with the Ravenous, like the ancient predators that of the Time Lords that are now unleashed upon the universe. That really had nothing to do with it. Like the Ravenous don't even really properly debut until episode 8, the fourth episode of Ravenous 2. They have a quick little cameo at the end of Ravenous 1, but like they're not probably introduced until Ravenous 2, like episode 4 of Ravenous 2, if I remember correctly. So like that one, you could have just condensed 1 and 2 together. It's same here with Stranded. I don't think it needed to be 4 box sets. From what I've seen here, apparently the producer David Richardson said that this would be the end of the 16 episode story arc era for the 8th Doctor. So I'm actually fine with that. I think that's been one of the biggest detriments of like having to split everything into 4 episode box sets, and it's a 4 box set long story. It really drags a lot of things out, especially here with Stranded. It's just like the first 2 stories of Stranded 1 I like, last 2 they're okay, but then we needed to set up the plot of Stranded. And Stranded 2, it's like, okay, we're gonna start the building blocks, then we're gonna take 2 detours before continuing building starting the building blocks again in the 4th story of Stranded 2. But even then, those 2 detours, I think the first one was really good, unit dating. The second one, I think the Baker Street Irregulars it was called, I didn't really like as much. Like, they both did the same thing of like exploring the other tenants of Baker Street. So with the unit dating, it was Tony and Roy, I believe they were called. Yeah, Tony was one of them. It's a couple that used to work at unit. It was dealing with like their unit days. Ron and Tony. Sorry, Ron and Tony. I really enjoyed that episode. That was the standard episode of Stranded 2. Well, the other one that was with Aisha and Zakia, their kind of development I really just did not care about. Like the twist there with their relationship, like what they really are, because they're introduced as sisters. Like it's like, I don't care. I've seen it reminded me of like a plot point in like a fucking like from Home and Away of all things. Like if you don't know what Home and Away is, it's a famous Australian drama, and there was for one of the characters there was a plot point similar to this where they introduce as sisters, and it turns out they're not sisters. Like they're actually something else. So it just reminded me of that. It's like okay, whatever. Stranded. I think Stranded 3 was where they really started to drag out like the divine intervention, like the Robert story, like just them like going through like different times, just seeing, okay, let's try and fix the future one piece at a time. And it's, even though they all come to the conclusion that in Stranded 4 is like, okay, we could just stop it here and now, like stop it here or now, or like earlier. Like it just felt kind of unnecessary. The whole like, let's change the future like one moment at a time, and it's just like, it's not really going to matter, because you're going to go back and stop it where it all began. Like it's kind of pointless. But yeah, with Stranded as a whole, it felt really dragged out in a lot of parts. The middle two box sets, episodes like 5 to 12, they really dragged out the plot. But Stranded 4, I think it neatly like tied everything up. It did what it needed to do. It ended the story, and it ended on a really good, happy note, which I will segue to Tanya in Liv. Tanya is the standout character, new character of Stranded. I really enjoyed Tanya. I think she's a fantastic character. Her coming out to Liv, who she begins dating as transgender, I think was handled really well. It was, while it's a big deal for her, it isn't for Liv. Liv just accepts it. It's like, okay. and like, does it really matter? Like, I don't, like, Liv doesn't care, which makes sense for Liv because she's from the future, so by then, like, gender doesn't matter, like, all of that, so it's a nothing to her. Like, even though I know I'm going to be speaking for others, but like, I feel like that's how I would want to be, like, represented. It's just such a nothing matter at this point. It's just someone will just accept it and, like, that's it. It's not a big deal. Like, I hate to use the whole it's current year, but it really is. Like, I think, you know, aside from some cases, we're a bit more accepting of others, of whatever, like, sexuality, etc. So it shouldn't be such a big deal. It's just like, okay, this character is gay, this character is, you know, such and such, like, okay. And it's Doctor Who. We've had, like, characters of, like, different genders, races, species, whatever. Like, there's something wrong with you if you find a fault in that this character, because of a trait which is not important to who they are as a person, like, in their personality, that you find troubling. It shouldn't be at this point. I did not judge Tanya differently because she was transgender. Like I said, she was probably my favorite new character of Stranded, and her relationship with Liv was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a bit of a shame to say that, like, Liv was improved because she got a girlfriend, but she really was. I think when Helen joined, Helen kind of took the spotlight, and Liv was just kind of, like, to the side most of the time. Like, if you've seen my ranking, I've put, like, Liv above Helen. Oh no, Helen above Liv. I just liked Helen more than Liv, but here in Stranded, Liv definitely also got to shine a bit more with her relationship with Tanya. And with this last story, Best Year Ever of Stranded 4, everyone was wondering what will happen, because once this is all fixed, the TARDIS crew is going to leave, but will live, because now she has this relationship with Tanya. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a happy resolution. It was actually really heartwarming. Like, it honestly was. Like I can't really stop with saying, like, how much I enjoyed Best Year Ever. It really was, like, a really good episode. It's probably one of the best stories I've listened to, like, recently. And it's not even really a story I would go for. Like, I was just really surprised with that story. But overall, if I had to rank Stranded 4, I would give it a 7 out of 10. I was originally going to go with, like, 6.5 because the majority of them I would have ranked 6.5 by themselves, the episodes. But I'd give it a 7, solid 7. It was good. Like, it did what it needed to do well. It needed to just concluded the Stranded arc. That was it. And it did a nice job of that. You just have the added bonus of Best Year Ever just being, like, the surprise, like amazing episode. So yeah, I think everyone on that wrote for this, everyone behind the scenes, etc., they did a great job. I can't wait to see where the 8th Doctor goes now. I'm wondering what they're going to do now. Like I said, the 16 episode, like, format of, like, split between 4 box sets, that's done apparently. So I'm wondering what they're going to do, because according to Big Finish's site, we still have a couple more 8th Doctor stories. Like, I'm wondering how long they're going to go for the 8th Doctor, because we have the definitive end with, like, Night of the Doctor. He's had his own Time War series, so, like, getting closer to the Night of the Doctor stuff. So who knows? But I mean, overall, yes, I enjoyed Stranded 4 and Stranded as a whole for what it was. It could have been better, it could have been a bit more condensed, but it at least had some standout characters, it had some standout moments. Again, Tanya, amazing, great character. I think the actress, Rebecca Root, I believe. Yes, Rebecca Root. she does a fantastic job as Tanya. Like, amazing, absolutely amazing. Relationship with Liv was well developed. It was so engaging. I'm not particularly for relationship stuff, but I really enjoyed it. And it was a nice end to Stranded. There we go. Everyone that worked on Stranded, not only just Stranded 4, all of Stranded, you did a good job. Thank you. So that is it. That is my video on Stranded 4. Thank you all for watching. What were your thoughts on it? Did you agree? Did you disagree? Let me know somewhere. Comments. Yell at me on Twitter. I haven't had a good fight in ages. I'm kidding. Don't fight with me. I'd win. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Go check out the previous videos that I've done by myself or with my fellow co-hosts. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.